Okay, I think we're ready for an open conversation. And we're going to do that with ZZ. And he's just a really interesting guy. I mean, he was born in China. Then he went to Canada. His first job was working at a gas station. So that he did that very well. And then, of course, he became a programmer, started computer science. Then he helped out the stock exchange of Japan, started to make software for that, or all that. And then, of course, he got bitten by the crypto bug. In what year was that? A little louder? Yes, very good. 2013, he read the paper. He sold his house, put it all in Bitcoin, not bad in 2013, and better than me, he didn't sell anything of it. So I thought that was he's much smarter at that point than me. And then, of course, he started Binance after in 2017, and after an ICO. But how is it to run a company which is a virtual company with thousands of people, which are everywhere, which are virtual? He's a digital nomad, he's everywhere. How do you live like that? How do you keep something like that under control? I have a lot of questions for him. And I asked him at the beginning, okay, because I've been told, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. Just very good, secure marketing things. You don't want to have all kinds of difficult questions. I said, but I asked him myself, what question can I not ask? He says, you can ask anything. Doesn't matter. Any question goes. I might not give, I might give a polite answer, but I mean, anything goes. So you can basically ask every question, and so it's opening up for that. Now, so make sure you have your squiffer ready, and let's all give a welcome to CZ, who's all coming all the way from Dubai, Paris, to basically here in Brussels. Okay, CZ.
Thank you so much, Vincent.
Thank you very much for coming. We talk for 1 minute. We have 2 comfortable chairs here, and we have some water. So what we all want to do, we want to learn all about you. So let's start first with your first job. How was that at a gas station, to work at a gas station?
Actually, I worked in McDonald's before the gas station.
Oh, sorry.
I just had McDonald's just now, right beside you.
Yeah, so you're still a fan.
Yeah, I'm still a fan, but when you work at McDonald's, the best thing is you get a lot of food for half price. So I ate a lot of burgers.
But you don't have any problem. I mean, are you living healthy? I mean, you're a digital nomad. I mean, you're having a crazy life. Every minute is planned. You have to run around. Are you living healthy?
I think I'm pretty healthy. I do get sick quite a bit when I talk too much. So, but overall, I'm pretty healthy. And when I feel stressed, I just take a break. We do work around the clock, but we have very flexible hours. We don't track people's hours. People don't track my hours. But my assistants, they do fill out the schedule. But when I'm tired, I just say, look, find a few meetings to cancel, I'll take a nap.
Where did you come from now?
Paris, this morning, yeah.
Tu parles français?
No, je ne parle pas français.
Okay. And what's the next stop going to be?
Actually, I think tomorrow we're going to, the day after tomorrow we're going to Zurich.
Zurich.
Yeah, there's another trip, I'm not sure yet. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you basically, which day it is, which country is that? Okay.
Yeah.
So before you go to Binance, where did you learn the most before starting Binance? I mean, you went to work for the Japanese stock market, I think. I mean, all kinds of interesting jobs you've done, blockchain.com.
Yeah, I think when early in your career, you're learning more of the technical skill. At least for me, I was learning more of the technical skills, like programming, how to design systems, architecture, high scalability systems, etc. So back in the day, it was mostly C, C++. After working for like 5-6 years, I decided to jump into the startup world. Probably many of you guys are in. And then in the startup world, you become more of a generalist. And I become more of a BD sales kind of guy. I was doing a startup with 5 other Caucasians in China. So I was the only Chinese-looking guy. And I was the only one who speaks Chinese. So I obviously did a lot of the business development on the Chinese side. So that's where I kind of learned the sales skills a little bit. Actually, that became pretty useful later on. And then I was a junior partner. And then after a little while, I was doing my own startups. I did 3 or 4 failed startups before Binance.
Yeah, failing startups is really good, right? I mean, and you learn a lot from that.
It's very painful, yeah. But
very painful.
Yeah, very painful. Like basically, when you do a startup, you're basically borrowing money from families and friends. When you fail, so actually, I have managed to return all the money, even before Binance. So I never lost anybody money, but it was always very painful. You have a huge amount of debt, etc. So it's a very good learning experience, but when you're going through it, it's quite painful, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then, the last startup, which you gave up when you went to the crypto world, what was it doing for the stockbrokers of the traditional world?
So the last one was doing what we call ultra low latency direct market access trading. So what basically that means you have a machine. Typically, in the traditional stock world, you have brokers that take orders from retail guys or from their clients, and then they send that to the exchange. So each exchange only handles about a few hundred or a few thousand members. The brokers need to do risk management. The brokers typically lend them money, so they need to do loan availability desks, etc. So you got to have the fastest access for some of your really high demanding clients while be able to manage risk. So this developed to a point where you can use a network card that has an FPGA chip, which is a chip that you can program, so that you can send the order directly through, like almost at wire speed, and then calculate the risk afterwards, and then send a chase cancel if the order violates it. So this kind of stuff. It's very specialized, very, very boring stuff.
Yeah, but then you made it for all of us, because at the moment, Binance is very, very quick. You basically use that knowledge to put into Binance, into the speed of Binance.
Yes, I think we have. I think today, even today, when we started, it's totally true. Even today, if you look at all the crypto exchanges in the world, most of them are done by fairly new startups that didn't have a lot of experience building trading systems. Whereas when we started Binance, I'd been working in the industry for 15, 17 years. So we took all of that knowledge and applied to the Binance design. Yeah. But for Binance, I actually didn't do any technical work. I participated in some of the early design discussions, but all the technical work is done by our team. But two of our original senior tech guys have been with me for like 8 years before Binance. Okay. So we've been working together on this type of systems for many years. So we had that experience, a very niche experience, and we brought it to Binance. And that's why the Binance matching engine is, I would say, probably about 10 times faster than any other matching engine in the market today.
Yeah, there was a question of somebody here. Does Binance have a special accounts for trading companies, or do we all have the same technology?
It's the same for everybody. In traditional stock worlds, you have something called colocation, where a large broker can put their servers right beside the exchange, usually inside the exchange firewall, so that they have faster access. Some other crypto exchanges also offer that service. We've been asked like a million times for that service. We all said no. We tell them which are the closest cloud servers they can use, but that's available to everybody. So we did not think that it was right to provide a certain type of clients a faster access. Our system is really, really fast. They can get a server that's very close to our cloud, and that's it. Everybody have that same access.
Okay. So then you started Binance, right? You say, I was not doing too much promo. You had a team already in place. And how did that go about? How did you assemble that team? You went out of your startup. Did you take people from there? Tell us about the first couple of days and to the ICO and then to starting, because it was lightning fast. Right?
Yeah. So when we started, before the Binance system was actually built over the 2 years before we started Binance. Before we started Binance, we had a technology company called BJ Tech. It's a company that builds exchange platforms for other exchanges. Wow. It's deployed to about 30 different exchanges. So it's like real live system. It's not just some prototype. So when we when we started Binance, we had a system already. I had a tech team, which is only about at the time, the total team size was about 25 people. So we had about 15 engineers, a couple of support staff, and we had a sales team, which we turned into a marketing team. So we had the tech team, we had the product. We didn't have marketing, we didn't have customer support. because that was the previous business was a B2B business. So we hired a marketing team and we hired a customer support team and we grew from there. So the core technology was already built, but of course over the last 5 years we have iterated on that technology quite significantly. But that was actually built before Binance, and this is the reason why when we started, we had a team of 25 guys, and they were all extremely good. And this is why we were able to write a white paper within 4 days. Do the ICO within 2 weeks, and then launch the full trading platform within a month. So within 2 weeks after the ICO. So all of that happened in a very quick period.
Yeah. So, and then, so you basically had all the technology to make an exchange for other people. You think you could do it better, and then you started. And was it first started for the Chinese market, or was it first charged international? How did you do the marketing and the sales guy? How did you get the first 10,000 people to enjoy your product?
Yeah, so when we first started, we always wanted to do an international exchange. And when we were doing the ICO, we had a grand plan of doing a world tour, Shanghai, New York, San Francisco, Europe, and etc. But what happened is when you plan 2 weeks for the ICO, if you take a world tour like that, it takes, each flight takes like 10, 18 hours out of your schedule. We just couldn't do that. So we actually ended up taking 0 flights. I took a train from Shanghai to Beijing that takes about 3 or 4 hours, but you still have connectivity, and then back on the same day. That was the extent. So even though we had our English white paper, most of our initial users were from China. But thanks to the blockchain technology, we have a website that, that we were crypto-to-crypto exchange. So anybody can deposit crypto using any blockchain and withdraw using any blockchain. That was it. Our website was available in 4 languages at that time, but our website didn't require a lot of language. There's a green button, there's a red button, and everything else is words. So the international users didn't have a lot of difficulty using that website. So we actually got users from day one from 180 different countries. And then we're like, wait a second, if we have users in 180 different countries, we should have our team in 180 different countries. And then luckily or unluckily, the Chinese government kicked us out 6 weeks after we started.
Really?
So by September 4th, 2017, they said no crypto exchanges in China.
How does that work? You get a phone call or just get disconnected? I mean, how did the Chinese government communicate with you?
They just publish a memo. So it's like, we're not even sure if it's legally binding or anything. It's just a memo published by like 7 departments in China and says I forgot the wording, but some vague wording, but you interpret that they don't want crypto exchanges in China. They don't want people to do ICOs in China. Message was very clear. And actually, some of our peer exchanges got a call from the government and said, you got to shut down. At the time, luckily, we were a 6-week-old startup, so at the time we were small. We just said, let's pack up and go to someplace else. And we had 30 people at the time, and and all of them are fairly startup young guys.
Yeah, no family, those kind of stuff.
Some people had some family, but yeah, it was mostly no family.
Some family, yeah, okay, yeah, great.
Very easy to move, so we just moved everybody out. That was that.
So you're used to tough regulators. Memo, get out of the country. Okay. And then where did you go?
So our team actually split up. I went to Japan first because I lived in Tokyo for a number of years before that. And then in October 2017, the Japanese regulators started to register the exchanges. So that was the earliest of any exchange licensing. So we thought, well, that was pretty good. And actually, in April 2017, 6 months earlier that year, Japan recognized Bitcoin as a legal currency.
Yeah.
So that's the first in the world. So so we thought that was a very positive environment. But after we went to Japan, we found the registrations have very strict requirements, strict limitations. They limit up to the number of coins you can list on a crypto exchange to about 20 coins. And even over the last 4 years, at the time we had 100 coins. So we're like, it doesn't work for our business model. So then I left Japan like within 2 or 3 months again. And then from that point on, we said, well, I went to Malta, went to a few other places. Yeah. So Yeah.
You're a true digital nomad now. Huh? You're traveling all over the place. So tell me, I mean, you said that being governed and having regulation is now just the most important thing you do. How do you deal with these people all over the world which have a varied amount of knowledge about the business, which have a very different kind of attitude? The one is very strict one. How do you deal with all these different regulators?
So my approach in life has always been picking the low-hanging fruits. So I never try to convince somebody who doesn't want to be convinced. I don't try to bark on trees that doesn't want to, is not interested. So for example, I never try to convince Warren Buffett to come into crypto. Let the guy be, man. Just leave him alone. But there are many regulators, there are many countries which understand that this is the future of money. Mm-hmm. The future of money is very important for the future of fintech. And the future of the finance sector is going to be very important for the future of every other sector, because every sector uses money. So with this new technology now, people can raise money easier, meaning that your entrepreneurs in this local location can raise money from people all around the world. And you can transact easier, you can invest easier, you can hold value easier, and this allows very different type of business models that wasn't available before. Uh-huh. So many countries understand this. They want this industry. Many countries are skeptical about it. They don't want this industry, but there are enough that want this industry.
Well, but they're very skeptical, but they're all building a central bank digital currency. They all think that the whole way this whole market works. They look jealously at this kind of market.
Yes and no. I mean, for example, even if you look at Europe, most countries in Europe don't have their own currency. Right, so they already gave up their own currency a long time ago. So yeah, I mean the EU's looking at looking at EU central bank digital currencies, but most countries in Europe don't have their own currency. Many other smaller countries outside of Europe also does not have their own currency. El Salvador, a number of other countries. So and for example, when we talk to the governments in UAE, Dubai, Bahrain, they were like, we can't sell oil forever. There's nuclear energy, there's green energy that's come up, and they don't have other resources. What they have is desert. The fact that they can build multiple mega cities out of the desert was for the strong governance on economy. They understand economic impacts. They're like, we're not afraid of disrupting our own economy or the current currency, etc. They're like, let's build a future. Yeah. So we see many governments like that, and then there's plenty of governments for us to work with.
Okay, but we're here in the Benelux, we're a teeny little area in a big pond. We like to use Binance with all its features. I mean, I'm from the Netherlands. I cannot use features. I have features. I cannot use Ideal, and that depends on your relationship with my bank. And then we call them every day. We say, hey, please communicate, and I know they're doing that. But England and the Netherlands is a pain. Belgium, fantastic. Just like everything in Belgium, they're much easier going. How long do you think it takes to work with guys like that? And maybe you can also talk about MIKA, which is now coming over Europe, and people say, what will be the impact of MIKA on the market in Europe? How do you see that?
We would love to see MIKA kick in as soon as possible, because today we have to get licenses country by country, even in Europe. The VASP license is not passportable today. So it'd be fantastic. I know France is pushing for MIKA quite heavily. So, and we would love to be working, Italy as well, so we would love to work with governments that can push this forward. I think that would be a huge win for the industry.
What is MIKA, maybe for the people who don't know?
Actually, I forgot what it stands for, but it's basically, it will allow all of Europe to, one VASP registration in any part of the EU to be passportable to all of Europe. Very similar to MiFID, which is a derivatives financial license, that if you get it in any of the EU countries, you can offer futures products or derivative products in any other Euro country. So then you basically only need to get one license in EU, which will save us 25x amount of the effort. So that's what MIKA is. That's like my layman understanding of it.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, it's really important that some intelligence is applied to regulation, and not every country figures it out by themselves. And then if you're approved by one, like if you were at a company, if you have a car approved in Germany or in Belgium, it can drive all over Europe, and the same with financial regulation. Extremely important, and you are in favor of regulation as long as it's reasonable. You also hopefully you fight that it's reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. So There's a few things that in this world, we shouldn't take too many things as black and white. Regulation is not just one thing. It's like there's so many little aspects to regulation. So good regulations are good, bad regulations are bad. But reasonable regulations, I think, are very beneficial to the industry. We need clarity. Industry players need clarity on what can or cannot be done. Typically, the way regulations work is that we should not, and it doesn't, regulators cannot make regulations for non-existent industries. Like, for example, even today, metaverse. There's no regulation for metaverse because the regulators are not going to imagine what the metaverse is going to look like and ask people to build it. The entrepreneurs are going to build it first, and there's going to be many different types of projects, and then one will take one or a few will be popular, and then a lot of people will use it, and then the regulation will come in because then we know what the market looks like. So before the innovators, we don't know what the market is going to look like. Once the industry is big enough, then there should be some rules because without rules, there are scams, Ponzi schemes, all of these other crazy problems. So there should be some guidelines. But we should not kill industries just because there's some problems. We should address the problems, but still allow the good innovations. So it's all, and then if we look at the crypto industry today, most of the regulations are looking at the centralized exchange. And within the centralized exchange, most of them are just looking at KYC and AML. There are many other things like security, wallet management, listing frameworks, customer dispute resolution, all of this stuff that currently...
And if you can see that organizations, coins, and exchanges are solvable, that they have solvability.
It's totally solvable. I think we've grown to be the largest exchange in the world by almost every single metric because users trust us. So we already have best industry practices operating at scale. So we would love to share some of our best practices with regulators and hopefully make that a standard. And we also welcome criticism on things that we can improve. So once the industry is big enough that there are best practices already, we can always improve them, but there's kind of a framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of questions about a little thing called the bear market. So how many bear markets have you gone through? And what did you learn? And what happens in a bear market and what happens afterwards? Can you give us some reflection on this interesting period? Sure.
So again, by bear market, most people ask, are we in a bear market without specifying a time frame? So on each day, there's multiple, on the minute chart, there's multiple bear and bull markets. Each week, there's multiple bear and bull markets on the hourly chart. But most people talk about a yearly chart when they talk about this. On the yearly time horizon, if you look at the last 12 years, we've seen cycles very close to 4 years. 2013 was a peak to $1,000 US. 2017 was a peak to 20,000. 2021 was a peak to about 68,000. So now we kind of come down quite a bit from the last peak, but we're still pretty much above the peak from 2017.
Yeah, we're in January last year.
Yeah. So, but we can see those cycles. It doesn't mean the history does not predict the future, but we do see 4-year cycles historically. So, are we in a bear market now? For most people, I think by most common definition, we probably are. Yeah, that's where the markets goes in cycles anyway. Even stock markets go through cycles. Nothing new. It's nothing unique to crypto.
Yeah, and what do you need to do during a bear market? What does the industry do, and what should investors do?
So I think for investors, the most important thing is just risk management. So when there's many different type of recommendations, etc. online, but risk is is individual tailored. Your risk will be very different from my risk and from somebody else's risk. The best way I define risk is if in the worst case scenario, are you still going to be okay? If everything went to zero, are you still okay? If the answer is no, then you probably have overinvested. You probably should reduce your investment size. If it's yes, then you're probably okay. So if you want to do that, you have to diversify. Generally, the general recommendation is to be somewhat diversified in a few different asset types, not just in crypto. Within crypto, I also encourage investors to not overly diversify, invest in 5 to 10 coins that you understand deeply, instead of investing 50 coins here and there, invest in coins that only because your friends tells you to or some other KOL online says so. When you invest only in a small number of coins, like say 5, you can understand each project very deeply. When there's a news, you can understand the impact. When something happens to the founder, something happens to the team, you understand what the impact is. For the players, for the industry players, the businesses in this industry, again, it's just to survive, right? So you gotta make sure you have enough stamina. The markets are volatile. Historically, we've seen Bitcoin, crypto go down by 80, 90%. 5 years ago, it's not unusual for Bitcoin to go down by 50% in one day. So Bitcoin's way more volatile than it is now.
Yeah, this is the 6th time it went down 90%. I mean, and now it went down 90% before. Now it's not at that level there.
So for crypto businesses, it's very important to keep a very healthy cash reserve. That's unusual for traditional financial businesses. So I generally recommend crypto businesses to keep 10 years of reserves.
Okay, very good. Let's make some more questions. Is Binance developing its own metaverse, or do you plan to work with one or more?
I think we'll work with multiple ones. We're not a virtual reality game developer. That's not our specialty.
No.
In this case, we will either invest. When we invest, we could invest in multiple.
Okay.
We usually don't limit to one.
Okay. I'm just going through a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
So we're going, which Lightning networks are you going to support?
We want to support almost all the Lightning networks, especially the Bitcoin Lightning network. But it's a very different architecture from the way we engineer our wallets. So that's why it's taking quite a bit longer time.
Yeah. This is how much pressure do you feel of being the CEO?
I actually don't feel that much pressure. I mean, I don't do much. Our team does all the work, so I just do all the talking. So I don't have a lot of pressure.
Very relaxed person here next to me. Okay. Then another simple question: how can Binance support a Belgian blockchain project?
So
in general, how do you support different projects if people are doing that?
So Binance, I like to describe Binance as a platform of platforms. We can help the projects to advise them on the token economic design, help them to do the initial sell, and give them liquidity by listing on Binance, giving them users and credibility, and many more and introduce them to other industry players. I just met with our incubation season 4, 20 projects in Paris. They said it was fantastic to get into the incubation, not so much about the money, but all the people that we introduced them to meet in the crypto system. Yeah. So we can do all of that for projects. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you still read books? And if so, what book are you reading at the moment?
Yeah, I read about a book a week. Today, more I listen to Audible. Yeah. It's quite a bit easier than but when I come across a book I like, I buy the Kindle version and read it and listen multiple times. Listening is a lot easier when you're on the train, when you're in the airport, you can listen. Where reading, you have to sit down and read. So I go through one book about. I buy about 300-400 books a year.
Give me two books which you could recommend and which I can basically listen to, because I love listening to books. When you do sports, when you do in the house, when you're traveling, it's just wonderful to have these Audible books. Here in Europe, we have Storytel, which is unlimited 400,000 books for one price per month. It's like a library. It's wonderful.
So the recent book I just finished is the Culture Map. It talks about different cultures and in work environment, etc. I think that's a very interesting book. The Innovation Stack, I just reread it again. It's one of my favorite books for entrepreneurship. So yeah, those are 2 examples. Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting question. I find also interesting. I mean, for me, Binance is like the rock. Okay, you're the standard. You're the rock of my crypto existence, okay? If you fail, then everything else will fail. So what do you do to protect yourself, and how stable are you for all these, for the stress test? We're the stress test.
Yeah.
And we had that with the banks, but what do you do to make sure that you go through the stress test period?
Yeah, so I have a relatively conservative personality. Most people don't believe that, but it's true. So I can say very very bluntly that Binance does not owe anybody any money. So we don't have loans from anybody else. We have given out some loans. Luckily, knock on wood, none of those have. It's actually a very, very small amount compared to our balance sheet. None of them have been impacted. We were impacted by Luna. We made a $3 million investment into Luna in 2018. That became $1.6 billion at the height, and we didn't even look at it. Our team, we don't look at this stuff. When it crashed to zero. So you can say we lost 1.6 billion or we lost 3 million.
But it was more emotionally, I can imagine. So financially it was not a problem, but what did you think when that happened? Because that was a very big event in our industry.
For me, it was okay. Like that's one investment out of 150 investments we made, and out of the 150 investments, like I don't know, more than 100 of them went to zero. So it's not the first time that it went to zero. But our portfolio went up.
Yeah, but it was a top 5 thing. It was a little thingy, right?
Yeah, but our portfolio is still 60x up, so we're okay.
You're okay. Okay.
So Binance is quite solid on that front.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Something else. Is Vitalik a funny guy?
No, he's not. He's a very boring guy.
Yeah? Very serious?
Serious. Very nice guy, but I wouldn't call him a funny guy.
No.
Yeah. Even when I invited him to my house for dinner last year in Singapore. I was so afraid of running out of topics to talk with him. Imagine meeting him.
Gee.
Yeah.
Really?
And,
yeah, you're a hard guy to talk with.
Yeah. But
no.
I think it's not my problem.
No, I think so too.
But he's very, very technical. He's very serious. But he's a very nice guy. He's one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, another little funny question. When do you think the market will stabilize again?
Not sure, to be honest.
No financial advice.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We're just asking for your personal opinion.
Yeah, not sure. But I think there is a fundamental difference between this market and 2018. 2018, there wasn't that much leverage. There wasn't that much slow leverage in the system. So fast leverage is futures on the centralized exchange. In March 2020, we saw BitMEX crash, and there was cascading liquidations. It happens in one day, and then it recovers. That's fast leverage. It's like very efficient. Today, there's so much lending products. There's funds lending to other funds, which lends to other funds, which lends back to the original fund. There's circular lending with leverage.
Yeah.
The effects are much slower in this type of environment. One fund goes down, and it takes a couple of weeks for the next fund to say, hey, we're also illiquid, etc. So I think we will see a few more of those happening. But at the same time, the industry will not go away. The industry is extremely resilient. Yep. That's one of the beauties about decentralized ecosystems. True. So yeah, that's kind of where I feel. Yeah.
Okay. At what point do you think the merge from Ethereum, will that be an important industry event?
It is. I think anything on Ethereum is important to the industry. So I don't know when it will happen. Vitalik's quite confident it will happen in September, I think. But it's up to him. I'm just relaying the information.
Yeah. BNB, as also, what is the role of BNB inside Binance? And do you think it will beat Bitcoin or Ethereum at a certain point?
I don't want to speculate, but anything is possible. BNB's role in Binance in the centralized exchange is diminishing. But we are renewing the 25% discount. I think that expires in July. We will be renewing that until further notice, basically almost indefinitely. So that will continue. We promised 5 years, but we'll make that continue. That's pretty much the only use case for BNB in Binance in the centralized exchange now. Well, actually, there's a few more, but compared to the overall value of BNB tokens utility, I think that's a very small thing. There's like 500 different use cases on the BNB chain outside in different parts of the ecosystem. I think that's a much larger part of the value for BNB.
And that can be growing, and that can be very important. Okay, because I mean, we're now having all these plans, all these different coins, basically wanting to change the real world. The healthcare system, the energy market, and use it to basically change physical stuff. When will you see really examples? I mean, we now have Ethereum, it's a working horse, it creates other coins, other tokens. When do you think it will change, this crypto world will change the real world?
I think it's already happening. There's a few killer apps in crypto people don't talk about it that often. Global fundraising for entrepreneurs, right? ICOs, IEOs, IDOs. In crypto, you can raise $10, $20 million within a week if you have some credibility and a sound plan. You can't do that through traditional VCs. And every single country wants foreign direct investment into their country. And ICOs is one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah.
Artists content creators can monetize their work globally again, then they get almost guaranteed, or not guaranteed, almost on average 10x better price, or better value for their art, NFTs. Again, you can't do this through traditional art galleries or publishers. It just doesn't work. So and lending goes through some adjustments, but lending still is a killer product. So we have those killer products with us already that people just don't realize them because they don't exist in traditional industries. When will Bitcoin or crypto replace all the traditional use cases? I think that will take multiple decades. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, like today, the internet, we can use video conference, but it doesn't replace an in-person interaction, right? So
it slowly will. But I mean, what I hope is that programmable money, intelligent money, will replace fiat money, so that we have a lot less bureaucracy. You have to be a lot less scared, and that. There, I'm looking for real examples. But NFT is a fantastic example, and also raising money is a good example. Yeah. But you see them popping up in different industries all the time. Okay.
Yeah. And we're also seeing some other really interesting use cases, like biotech, a number of things. But those are still small.
Okay. Another one. What languages do you speak?
I speak English.
Yeah, I'm just looking at you guys. I know you're doing this, and everybody. Are you bored already? No, okay, good. But I will honor the organization. We need to wrap up, but we have a couple of questions. Yeah, there's about 75 questions a minute coming in at this moment.
I speak English and Chinese, really, and I speak taxi Japanese and French, so I can turn right, turn left. That's it.
Okay. When will you start building regulation for classical financial institutions to join our new world? I mean, what needs to happen so that all this wealth management comes to this world? And what are you doing to help us?
So we're actively looking for collaborations with traditional financial service providers to the point where we want to invest and potentially even acquire many of them. So hopefully that will make them come into this industry earlier. They do have a slightly disadvantage. If you're already a licensed traditional financial industry, and you look at a road with no speed sign, they can't move. The entrepreneurs, they move. So they need the regulations to get there, and we're working with regulators.
You see this one? So much energy. Where did you get your energy from?
When talking about crypto, I guess I get very passionate and very very excited. So, yes. But normally I'm quite I'm okay. I'm a normal guy. Yeah.
Okay, he's normal. We'll see that when he basically walks around and he has a drink. Yeah. Okay. Can you give us an advice to a starter in crypto?
For businesses, I would say don't issue a coin until you have product market fit. So you mean that you already have a product that people are willing to pay for on a small scale. Only issue a coin when you want to scale. That's not for discovery. Because once you issue a coin, you have thousands of investors, and it's very hard to pivot. Every time you pivot, people complain. So, yeah.
Okay. So this is a personal question. Somebody, can I have a T-shirt with your signature, please? I'm your biggest fan. Yeah, I think there's 700 people around here, so that will be a little bit, different. Hey, we now saw this whole going up and down. So that's pretty clear that we feel we need sort of a protection against the bad side and go up. Are there any tools coming up that you can be protected from going down? That you basically can do your homework? But then that you get out at the right moment, go in. Are there new tools coming?
Well, in theory, you can't. I don't think there's any systematic tools that would do that. You can do that through diversification, through managing your portfolio well, and also investing in not correlated assets. But markets going down is a feature of the market that's required, to be honest, for the market to grow. Mm-hmm. If it's always in a bull market, we have a lot of fluffy projects in the market. There's a lot of projects that doesn't do much, that gets a lot of value. And when the markets go down, they get filtered out. Now actually what's left is much stronger. Yeah. And then we can build on top of that foundation again. So bear market is a feature of the market, which is actually required. As painful as it is to most people's portfolios, it is actually how markets become stronger.
Yeah. CC, thank you very much
for coming. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Okay, yes, CZ will be available to take a selfie for the first, you have been, for the first, I think, 100 or 150 lucky ones who's been there. I want to thank everybody who came from the live stream. Thank you very much for being in Belgium, the best place in Europe. Yes, 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 that means you. I want to thank you very much for coming here, and I hope you have great drinks and keep on innovating and keep on going. Thank you very much. Oh. Wait a little bit so that not everybody gets crowded out.
Each step, each breath that you take, I'll never be too far away, waiting for you.
Hello. Yeah. So the people who are basically having a way to make a selfie, can they go on the left here, and slowly you will get your photographic moment. I think you have to stand here in the middle.